everybody. I'm here today with Dr. John Poteet, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself.
My name is John Poteet. I teach entrepreneurship, management 485 over at Southeastern Louisiana University. Micah is one of my students. I've been in the business world for about 40 years. I spent significant time with General Electric Company, which is considered to be one of the best managed companies in the world. And I've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for the last 15 years with my two partners. We have an auction, wholesale auto auction in Houston. It's actually the largest auction in the city of Houston and one of the largest in the state of Texas. And we have the auction here in Hammond, Louisiana. I have significant experience in management, marketing, and my PhD is in organization and management.
Thanks, Dr. John.
Sure.
I have a list of 4 questions I'm going to ask you today. They all pertain to executive compensation.
Okay.
I know with your balanced background, having worked at GE and actually owning your own company now, you have a great perspective on the topic. The first question I'd like to ask you is, do you believe that executives in major corporations are worth what they are paid?
I would say yes and no. It depends on a lot of different things. I've worked for 2 major corporations, GE and Cox Enterprises, and they have a very elaborate system for determining how they compensate their executives. Usually it's some combination of pay, just regular salary, and then some sort of a bonus, and they may have stock options or they may have opportunities to buy into the company. I think that one of the biggest problems with executive compensation is that companies sort of have a way of having their managers get into the good old boys club, and they become a part of a network within their company, and they end up getting paid sometimes a little more than they're worth, and people who are laboring in other areas that may not be somebody's favorite don't do quite so well. I believe that almost every large company in America, probably the world, certainly the Fortune 1000, they have very sophisticated ways to measure that compensation. So they should be within some sort of range.
Yes. Well, that makes sense, or there wouldn't be such demand for the high-level executives.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good answer. My second question for Dr. John here is, what can top executives in these companies do to earn their compensation?
Well, I think that there are a lot of different ways to look at that. Publicly held companies have got to make sure that the stockholders are happy, that the stock price stays up. And that's a very difficult situation, because it's, on the one hand, the stock price is something that you can go online and see not only every day, but every single second where the stock price is going. But a lot of times that's a very short-term way of thinking. And when you look at the good of the corporation, you really need to be thinking, especially somebody in an executive position needs to be thinking not only months but years down the road. Where are we going with this company? And sometimes long-term decisions are going to result in short-term, less than stellar expectations, less than stellar achievements. So I think that's the one thing, is they've got to be aware of how their company is valued. But the second thing is, how does the company, how is the company viewed by the rest of the world? Do people admire this company? Do my customers like this company? And how do we respond to problems and issues? Do the employees like being here? Do we have the sort of operation where people can be promoted from within? And so I would look at things like, what's the average length of time for an employee? If it's very short, there's probably something wrong at the top.
Yeah.
If it's very long, people are loyal to the company.
Fish stinks from the head down, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you. The third question I have for you today is, would you say that your opinion of executive compensation has changed over the course of your career?
Well, I think that one thing is, when you start out in business, you always think that, man, I'd like to be the guy at the top making the millions of dollars. But as time goes on, you start looking at exactly how money is earned and how companies are paying their big executives. In my opinion, has changed in the sense that I believe that executives are paid way too much compared to the average worker in the company. And The last time I saw statistics on this, it was probably like 2005 or so. I think in the Fortune 500 or the Fortune 1000, I'm not sure exactly, the average executive was about 450 times the average pay.
Yep.
I also know that if minimum wage had gone up in the last 25 years at the same rate as CEO pay had gone up, the minimum wage would now be about $27 or $28 an hour. So what we're starting to see is we're starting to see executives pull away from the average person in the company that is required to run the whole company. If you think of a football team, Drew Brees is the most important player on the Saints, but I don't think it'd be very good if he didn't have receivers and linemen and people like that. So you've got to look at the whole picture, and I think that we have gotten, at least in the United States, compared to other countries, we've gotten away from the real value of the executive compared to the rest of the company.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. In fact, I read the other day that United States CEOs are paid way more than any other country.
Yes, I think that's true.
The fourth question I have for you today, what advice would you give a new company that is trying to decide how to pay their executives?
Well, I think the first thing, and this is a very vague term, but you've got to be fair. You want to get the best people, and I think one of the things that I look at in my company is maybe I can't pay the very most, I can't be the top dollar for a specific position, but I do know that I've got to be competitive. So that's the first thing I would say is you've got to be competitive, you've got to be fair. If you go out and try to hire people at cheap wages, you're really hurting yourself because good people are not going to work for those wages. If they can work, if you've got 3 opportunities, someone has 3 opportunities, and one pays $75,000, one pays $70,000, and one pays $45,000, he's not going to consider the $45,000. And you're going to end up with people who, may not be the best. Maybe that you can turn them into good people, but it's best to try to be fair, to try to understand what your market is, know what people are being paid in your market, and then also think about the experience and the education. You can't obviously pay somebody straight out of college something that you pay somebody with 25 years experience. So I think the biggest thing is fairness and knowing the market.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. John, for your excellent insight on this topic. Remember, class, if you are interested in entrepreneurship, take his class.
Yes, it's going to be at the same time next semester. It'll be 6:30 to 9:15 on Wednesday nights.